Welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all of you moms.
Why isn't there a Mother's Day song?
You can make one up right now.
Like, there should be. No, because then it just goes to happy birthday.
I know.
Oh my gosh. All right. Today's the 12th of May, 2019. It's Mother's Day here in the United States.
It sounded like you said 12th of A or something.
You
missed the May.
12th of A. Maybe because I don't want to say Theresa May or something. Maybe it's just like deliberate. You know, it's like spitting. She's ruined the entire name of a month.
Yes.
By having it as her last name. We're going to talk about Brexit. We're going to talk about Nigel. We're going to talk about Tommy.
Nigel is pretty much... Well, here's the thing. These elections are May 23rd, so they're coming up right around the corner.
Really fast.
11 days from now. So, of course, this is going to dominate our entire broadcast, as it should. Viva Brexit! Viva la
And
Brexit!
we're going to be going to France as well.
We're going to do some Yellow Vest. They're still out. Their numbers are not dwindling. And in fact, they seem to be getting bigger and bigger. France is not happy with baby Macron. So that's good.
We were watching a movie last night and they said something, the woman was like, I always wanted to go to Paris and I dreamed, and I literally was talking to her, this imaginary person on the screen. I was like, we don't want to go now.
Well, and that gives me another, there's another article. I can't cover all the news. I didn't bring it up. Maybe I did. That taxi drivers are specifically not going in the migrant-dominated areas of Paris so as not to shock the tourists.
What? Oh my gosh.
Don't want to shock those tourists,
wow.
Man. You come here for the cafes and the slow life, and then you get people living in the streets, migrants begging for money. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, Brexit.
Aren't your favorite chap in mine,
yeah,
Mr.
So
Nigel?
I have so many clips of Nigel, but we're just gonna read one. We're gonna start with one reading, and we're gonna hope that we don't get any. That
was not ladylike.
We're gonna hope we don't get any copyright strikes.
Yeah, we're not playing anything from Channel 4 ever.
Nigel Farage just totally destroyed a BBC interviewer on TV this morning. This is from James Jellingpool this morning. And in doing so, Farage reminded us exactly why his Brexit party is flying so high in the polls. Why he's being tipped as a future Prime Minister. Oh.
Now, okay, so I actually literally watched this interview while I was getting ready today. And he asked him, do you want to be Prime Minister? And Nigel's response was so like, of course not, no. Would you want to be Prime Minister? Actually, no. I wouldn't want to be president either. The amount of weight and criticism and death threats, like literal assassinations of prime ministers. I'm sorry, get a little heightened. But it was funny to me how he was saying, no, I don't want to be Prime Minister. That's a very honest response. But Maher was calling him out, and he's like, well, wait a minute. You're saying you want to crush the Conservative Party. And so if the Brexit Party comes in and leads, then who's going to be Prime Minister?
But that's just the thing. He has to get out of the EU first.
Right.
Because if he's an MEP,
right.
He can't be a MMP. So then, it has to lead his party out of the trenches first. So interviewer Andrew Marr began by making the huge mistake treating Farage like the BBC treats all politicians to the right of Lenin, with unutterable contempt, and if he were a dangerous idiot with wacky views which no civilized person could possibly hold. Marr began from a long list of gotcha questions designed to make Farage look like an extremist with climate change. Do you still believe worrying about global warming is the stupidest thing in human history? Farage was ready. I believe that if we decide in this country to tax ourselves to the hilt, to put hundreds of thousands of people out of work in manufacturing industries, given that we produce less than 2% of the global CO2, that isn't terribly intelligent. Then he segued seamlessly into an attack on the BBC. Here we are with one of the biggest changes in politics that has ever occurred, and you don't want to talk about it. What is wrong with the BBC?
I have to tell you, and you're doing a good job of reading it, but Nigel's he was so disgusted.
Let's see
he was just absolutely disgusted with Andrew Marr today.
I still believe that worrying about global warming is the stupidest thing in human history. I believe that if we decide in this country to tax ourselves to the hilt, to put hundreds of thousands of people out of work in manufacturing industries, given that we produce less than 2% of global CO2, that isn't terribly intelligent. But as I say, here we are with one of the biggest changes in politics
absolutely disgusting.
Okay, and you're even interested.
Do you still
What's
want,
wrong with the BBC?
Do you still want to
What is
roll,
wrong with the BBC?
Do you still want to roll back gun controls and
What
reintroduce
is wrong?
handguns
Well,
to this country?
You're in front
This
of
sums
Nigel.
it up. Do you know, I've been going around the
There you
country speaking at pack rallies every night. And do you know who's not there? The BBC. And from this line of questioning now, I can see why.
Do you still,
You're just not interested, are you?
do you still feel
You
uncomfortable
are
with foreign
just
languages
not
being
interested,
spoken
are you?
on trains?
Let's talk about democracy. Let's talk about trust. Let's talk about competence in politics. This is ludicrous.
Do you still feel that people with HIV shouldn't be allowed
Listen to
into
this.
country?
Oh my gosh.
Do I think the National Health Service is there for British people? Yes, I absolutely do.
So you still do.
This is absolutely ludicrous. I've never in my life seen a more ridiculous interview than this. You are not prepared to talk about what is going on in this country today. You're in denial. The BBC's in denial. The Tory and Labour Party are in denial. I think you're all in for a bigger surprise on Thursday
we have talked
than you
about
can
it.
even imagine.
We have talked about it. Do you still admire Vladimir Putin?
No. I never admired Vladimir Putin.
Is this a joke? Is this
like
no,
Vladimir
no, no, It
Putin.
just keeps going on and on like this for the full 10-minute
You're
interview.
most admired, you told GQ magazine, as an operator, but not as a human being,
Yes.
I would say
Well, there you are.
Putin, the way he
So there you
played
are.
the whole
So there you
Syria
are.
Well, there you are.
Not as a human being. So I don't
Well,
like
there you
him.
are.
I don't like him as a human being. What is your question? What is the relevance of this?
Oh my gosh, it was. I'm going to put the whole
I'm
clip
sorry,
in
I'm
the
aware that
description
Brexit
so you guys
party
can
was
watch
once
it.
destroyed the
You haven't
party system
asked.
is
You
going.
haven't asked about a single other member of the Brexit Party. You haven't commented on the fact we've got the most diverse list of candidates of any party.
This
fighting
week,
this election.
I'm speaking to the leader of the newly minted party right through to the right.
Well, that's worth discussing, isn't it? How have we managed to get left and right together? These things are really interesting to your viewers, not trawling back through a series of quotes from years ago.
Oh my gosh, it was
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
absolutely fantastic. It was
We have
so much
another
fun
one.
to watch. Oh, keep going. Keep going. If they pulled out the highlights.
Let's return to the thing that you are most well known for, to a lot of people watching, which is that famous poster, the Breaking Point poster that UKIP put up.
Right.
Can I ask you, would the Brexit party put that poster up?
Well, we're in different circumstances because Mrs. Merkel is not suddenly saying, let's open our doors to everybody.
Yeah, but-
and as you know, or maybe you don't, as years go by, decades evolve, different issues come to the fore. Throughout that period of time, there is no question that the number one issue in British politics was immigration, people's concerns over open borders, its impact on wages, access to public health care. The number one issue in British politics now is democracy, the failure of our political parties to keep their promise. That is what the country is debating.
But that poster sent a very, very clear message about my... Are you saying the Brexit party would not put up a poster like that?
Well, it wouldn't, because it isn't the burning issue of the time.
Do you regret it?
Do I regret helping
That poster.
Do I regret helping
Do
to
you
win the...
regret that poster and
no,
the message
it was the truth. And if you think about that poster, it's transformed European politics, it's changed Italian politics. Mrs. Merkel made a very big mistake.
Wow, and you know what is so great about politicians, and I wish people would understand things like that with Nigel, because you get onto a specific topic and you stay there for a little while, and then if that's not the burning issue, okay, right now there is a burning issue, and that is Brexit and leaving the EU.
Right. And that's what he went on to talk about, his new Brexit party. But instead, I'll tell you exactly what Andrew Marr did during this interview. He was trying to pull up, and Nigel kept, like, why are you pulling up the past? Let's talk about now. And what Marr was trying to say is, we don't want people to back and support you, and we don't want you to pull votes from, our parties that we approve of, and here's why. And so I want to besmirch your character. I want to pull up every questionable thing that you've ever said in the past. And he was literally like, this is the worst interview ever. What is wrong with the BBC? What is wrong with you guys? He kept going to the past.
If I were a Tory leadership candidate, I would be terrified by this interview, particularly by the way that Farage dealt with the global warming question. He gave the right answer, the honest answer, the true answer, and the answer that is best for the British electorate. Even those who on the supposed right of the Conservative Party, like Boris Johnson, are still floundering around trying to have their cake and eat it by expressing enthusiasm for free markets while simultaneously reassuring us that they understand that climate change is a problem. Why would you wish to support such cautious, cowardly has-beens when there's a revolution in the air which might yet deliver all those good things the Conservative Party has failed to deliver? Farage is on a roll. The Brexit Party is on a roll. In a fortnight's time, it's going to win the European elections. After that,
maybe the world. Thank you, Worth a Look, for sending that clip to us earlier today, because I really enjoyed watching the entire thing, even though it was kind of painful for me to watch for Andrew Marr, because he's been given these. You do understand that these reporters don't actually do their own reporting anymore. He's been given talking points, and he's been giving a list of things. He can't stray from the cards, and so he has to hold this hard face. His heart was not in it at all.
Can I just read my stuff? This is my job.
Every time Nigel hit him with one thing, he would go back to another question. But what Nigel was hitting him with is, why are you going back to the past? I mean, after all of that, when he went to do you still admire Vladimir? I'm sorry. That was just the straw that broke the funny camel's back. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. I'll be honest, I admire Vladimir Putin. The things that he's done, the way that he's turned his country around, you can't help but admire him, whether you like him as a person and a human being or admire his character or whatever. Yeah. You know, it's so silly.
So, new polling from the upcoming European elections. And by the way, the Brexit Party is actually leading in the general elections above the Tories, right below Labour. But when you combine the two, then they're leading Labour.
It's so awesome. I'm really excited. Let me read this from Britt Baza. It says, Michelle, in the MSM, the smear campaign against Farage is really being ramped up. They are picking on everything he has done, including trying to blame Farage for a crash his chauffeur had 2 days ago. And I think the more serious the Brexit Party is being taken, and it's like a Donald Trump moment that we're seeing right here.
And what did we do? Theresa May's calculations were just off on this one.
If they had just delivered the no deal Brexit, they would have far more control over their country than they do right now.
It's like Columbus trying to get to India and ends up in America and changes all of world politics
and
forever.
So they're like, oh my gosh, we have let loose a giant. It's like they have created a Frankenstein and they can't control it. So they're going to go after Farage just as hard as they went after Trump.
Farage could never become prime minister of a conservative party, but you better believe he would be prime minister of a Brexit party.
I know.
Farage would be prime minister of a Brexit. Do you guys understand? Do you guys understand? Grasp this for a second. If Farage were to try to, he wanted to enter the British Parliament, but his heart couldn't be behind the Conservatives. He knew that he had a lot of enemies there. People didn't like him there.
Yeah.
But the Brexit Party is his party.
I know.
He's the leader of the Brexit Party. If the Brexit Party wins the general elections, but I think what we're looking at for that is 2022.
And what's more, I think it's going to be a far more difficult road for the Brexit Party. It depends on what happens and how they perform, I think, in the European Parliament and what happens with Brexit moving forward. I mean, I kind of feel like we're on the brink of some sort of civil war in the UK, but it's not going to come to that. But you're right. It definitely could be. It would be a harder road, though, the general elections versus the European elections.
Well, and the only reason that it makes it a harder road is you have people from all walks of life in the Brexit Party.
Yeah.
So what he needs to do, and what I'm hoping will happen is he will capitalize, and the Brexit Party will become the new Conservative Party.
Right.
And the Conservative Party will cease to exist. So, and the Conservative Party dominates, right? Mm-hmm. And so the Brexit Party will dominate, and some people will fall off and they'll go to Labour.
Yeah.
But more people will realize there's no hope left with this Conservative Party, and it might take a couple cycles. How long can you hold out? I don't know. Let's see. While governing conservatives have crashed to fourth place at just 11%. Let's see. This was polled between the 8th and the 10th of May. Showed support for Mr. Farage's weeks old party, by the way.
I know.
Up 6 points to 34%. More than Jeremy Corbyn's Labour, down 7 points to 21%. And Theresa May's Conservatives down 3 points to just 11%.
Hang on. Can you read the losses one more time? Read them again.
Well, and just in another week, the Brexit Party is up 6 points. Labour's down 7. Lib Dems are up 5. The Conservatives are down 3. The Greens are up 2. UKIP's up 1. And the
Speaking of UKIP,
is down 4.
I want to address the Tommy versus Farage people for 1 second. For those of you that feel like Nigel was some sort of traitor, I want you to consider this. Okay? regardless of how you feel about Nigel Farage as a person and what he did to Tommy and the things that he said, do you honestly believe that he would not deliver the policies that you would want to see take place? What is wrong with your shirt?
I dripped my drink, and so
my point is, Nigel's going to deliver the policies that you like, whether you like him or not.
Right.
So you might as well get behind him as a leader, whether you are offended or hurt or whatever. The real question is, do you want to see your country free? Do you want to see immigration down? Do you want to see more conservative policies implemented in law? If you want to see all that, then you had better get behind Nigel Farage, because whether you think he's a traitor or not, he's not going to turn his back on the policies and the core beliefs that he has deep inside.
yeah,
And that's what it boils down to,
So
I
what
think.
this means is, translated to the general election results, the ComRes data would see Mr. Farage's party claim 49 seats in the national legislature, the ouster of a swath of Tory heavyweights, including cabinet ministers and Europhile party chairman Brandon Lewis and even Boris Johnson. He better jump ship.
Wow.
Boris better jump, baby.
Okay, so
You know,
I want to read this comment from Stuart the Brit because it's valid. I still don't want it to pour to rain on our parade here, but it's still valid, worth reading. He says the Tories will put plants in the Brexit party to say and do stupid things to try and discredit the whole party, probably about racism, etc. This tactic they have owned before. It's true.
Well, then they're evil people.
Right, and Britt Baza reminds me that Andrew Marr brought up guns and hunting and things like that, knowing that Nigel is a pro
Gun
hunting kind of guy, and obviously the BBC is very much anti-gun.
Yep. That's okay though. You know, he's holding his own. The one thing that some people thrive on it, and I do not. I do not thrive on that kind of hostile environment, but he does, because he can laugh it through. He is one of those people. He's like a Donald Trump who can thrive on that negativity and turn it into a positivity. He is the lemonade maker of Europe. Life gives me lemons, and I'm doing frozen lemonade. I'm doing lemon tarts. I'm doing everything, and I'm just gonna you keep throwing lemons at me. We're gonna add some sugar to that, and we are just creating a booming business. Nigel Lemonade Farage. It's pretty good. It's pretty powerful stuff, if I do say so myself.
Wicked Like says, at Resistance Chicks, a few years ago, our family had a multi-generational Mother's Day celebration, and I wrote that on the cake I made. They found it funny when you read it out loud. I don't know that I think that's funny. I think it's adorable to have a multi-generational Mother's Day. I mean, I'm guessing that means that you had grandma and mom and another mom, like great grandma and things like that. That's like super
wonderful.
cool. I think that's fantastic.
Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to play just a little bit of this so I don't get But Nigel Farage visits the BBC snake pit. So I'm going to play it.
May get a deal through. That was Julie's question.
Yeah, it was. We just heard from our political class in Westminster. We have a genuine
Well, you're the political class too.
We have a genuine democratic crisis in this country, and the reason's simple. We voted to leave by quite a big majority in a referendum. We then voted a year later in a general election for two political parties who told us they would respect our wishes and carry out Brexit. We then saw 500 MPs vote for Article 50, which said we leave on the 29th of March with or without a withdrawal agreement. And the reason we didn't leave on March the 29th is these people do not want us to become an independent, self-governing nation. They are doing their utmost to thwart Brexit. And now it gets worse, because now, to try and save their own skins, we've got a Labour and Conservative Party negotiating a permanent customs union and alignment with single
That fell
market
through, by the
rules.
way.
They're basically trying to make us associate members of the European Union with no say, with no rights, with continued ongoing cost, in many ways even worse than staying a member of the European Union. This is a coalition of Parliament against the people, and I pray that it does not go through, because it won't be Brexit.
Obviously, you describe a coalition parliament. They haven't actually agreed anything yet.
Well, they're trying.
John.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how is it responsible to back a no-deal Brexit, considering the implications it can have on Northern Ireland and the political fragility over there at the moment?
Well, as you hear, John doesn't seem to feel it's that... Clearly, this is your policy.
Interestingly,
your only policy.
very interestingly, on that question of a WTO Brexit, that's something the European Parliament itself prepared for back in 2017 and published a report and explained exactly how the border would work. The issue is tariffs, all right? But
No, it's not.
given that now there isn't some little man, checking every lorry that goes across borders or container that comes into Felixstowe every day from China. This is all done online. That's very easy. The second question might be that of regulatory alignment. Would product specs be different? We've been in the European Union for 45 years. To begin with, there'd be no issue with that whatsoever. And isn't it funny how a WTO Brexit, the Taoiseach in Dublin has said there'd be no border put up. Monsieur Barnier has said there'd be no border put up.
Can I just
the British government have said
hang on a sec,
that no border would get put up.
No, wait a minute.
Unless Donald Trump's coming over to build the wall,
the former head of the World Trade.
So he did really good during this interview with I'm
By the way, it's a little
Nigel, you are not the only person who can opine on what is Brexit and what is not Brexit.
Well, it's not customs union, is it?
You're elected
It's not
to the European Union.
Is customs union membership
Absolutely.
So many of your own MPs don't seem...
You know what? Hang on. Let me comment on that, though, because I want to explain this to our people that are not that well-versed in British politics and Brexit and just exactly what it is. When everybody entered into the European Union, it was more on kind of a custom union, free trade agreement. That's it, right? And it seemed like a really great thing. And for a while, I guess maybe it was. So what we see is it grew. And they started controlling your laws. They started controlling what you can and cannot farm. They started controlling business. They literally took over every country and every tentacle, right, that goes in to the country and how it functions. What is fascinating to me is that Nigel Farage understands that pulling out of Brexit is pulling out of the very reason why the UK entered into the European Union. But everybody else is out there going, well, but we've given you back control of a lot of your laws and like you're allowed to kind of be your own country now. So that's Brexit. That's leaving the European Union. No, Nigel gets it. Leaving the European Union is leaving the original reason. And it blows my mind that these people can actually see how huge it's gotten and from so that there.
Just giving
you back all of your control of your like laws and stuff. That's you leaving, right? You were never supposed to have control of our laws to start with.
That's a really good point, Michelle.
Okay, so
go ahead.
No, because Wicked Psyched actually clarified what they wrote on the cake was Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers. And so I guess I can see how that would definitely be a little bit funnier there. And St. Mark the Evangelist says that his birthday is tomorrow and that our show from Friday and today's show are his birthday presents. Well, you know what? I hope you get more birthday presents than
Happy
that.
birthday.
Happy birthday to St. Mark the Evangelist. I want everybody to go and subscribe to his channel because he's putting out great content, and I believe that you definitely have the power of God inside of you, my friend. So I hope that your birthday tomorrow is very, very blessed.
Amen.
Or remain the view in their own constituencies, and there's nothing unreasonable about that.
No, they're not.
Was that just to answer that gentleman's question? The problem with the case for Labour, the idea that Brexit will
Wait.
down their feet.
Let's see.
Leave. Your MPs are not representing their constituents. They're letting down their feet. Even more than Tories.
He got a lot of cheers during this, by the way.
It isn't available, and your mistake has led to this problem. If you had been proved right, we'd already have left.
My mistake was to believe that we should be an independent, self-governing nation. That's what Brexit, that's what we voted for. It's what we want.
The fundamental problem, first of all, is, Nigel, you say the WTO rules, that's not a problem, that's the solution. Name me one country that is in the WTO rules that doesn't have a trade agreement with another country. Name me one country.
No, of course, because WTO rules are the basis from which you begin. Now, I believe the only way we can get a free trade deal with the European Union without the attached politics is first to leave,
Nigel,
and then they'll come running.
sorry.
And by the way,
Just answer the question.
by the way.
So basically, that's the little thing is that there are none because you start with the WTO rules and then you go in all the countries. Who sits there?
Well, what kind of question is that if you have not heard Nigel talk about all the amazing trade agreements that you're going to get with other countries, starting with the United States?
Exactly. I'm not going to, by the way, I'm not going to play this, but Britt Buzza gave me the link because I'm afraid that it will, because
it's Channel 4.
I'm afraid it will cause some, but it's Storyville Brexit Behind Closed Doors Part 1, and it kind of shows how the European Union does feel about you guys, which is not nice.
Oh, wow.
All right, so I think I'm moving on. Oh, nope. I think it's time we played the video.
Oh, okay.
Before we move on, because this is the coolest little plug, and I think it's going to get a lot of... I think it's going to get a lot of play. I hope it gets a lot of play in Britain, and it's cool. It's a campaign ad for the Brexit Party.
Morning. Sorry, I forgot that. I'm blonde.
Let's set my nose off.
People gave their lives for the right to vote.
To be able to change the things they didn't like.
We thought our votes meant something.
But we've been let down.
We've been betrayed.
Our country has been humiliated by politicians.
Those who we trusted with our vote.
We deserve so much better than this.
Politics is broken and our democracy is under threat.
Enough is enough.
It's time to change politics for good.
That's why I'm standing.
That's why I am standing.
I am standing.
I am standing.
That's why I'm leading the Brexit Party in the European elections on May the 23rd.
It's why I'm standing for the Brexit Party, so my community isn't decimated by politicians who don't listen.
And that's why I'm standing for the Brexit Party. Because we deserve better. We deserve politicians we can trust and who deliver on their promises.
There is a huge disconnect between the MPs and the people. We have all seen what can happen when people lose faith in democracy. MPs can no longer be trusted to represent the will of the people.
They say we didn't know what we voted for.
That we're stupid.
That we're racist.
But we're none of those things.
We are ordinary people.
Business people.
We are brothers.
Sisters.
Fighters.
We are doctors.
Entrepreneurs.
We are the 17.4 million people
who voted to leave.
And we deserve to be heard.
We believe that without democracy, we have nothing.
We all deserve to be heard, and in June 2016, 17.4 million of us voted to leave the European Union. And here we are, 3 years on, and nothing has been delivered. Our vote has been betrayed. This is about more than Brexit. It's about democracy, our country, how the rest of the world sees us. Our politics is broken, and it's time we did something about it. The Brexit Party is about change. You can do something with your vote. Vote for the Brexit Party and change politics for good. Vote for the Brexit Party on May the 23rd, and let's change politics for good.
That is such a powerful ad. I just absolutely
Talk that
love
man,
it.
Frosh. I love him.
If you notice it, he isn't wrong. The candidates that Nigel Farage has put together are the most diverse. So you want to talk about racist, and then you know, look on the face of like some Indian people, you know, women and black women, and it's just absolutely insane to say that they're racist. Let's see.
So Patriot Gallery says, the Lord showed me today that there is only right and wrong. It isn't arbitrary. God tells us what is right and wrong. Laws must be based on right and wrong from God. Apart from God, there are no laws. And she also says, thank you once again, Robert, for the flowers, which are absolutely beautiful on our table, which we're reaping from, even though they were sent to Patriot Gallery. Let's see. Britt Biles says, Michelle, Tommy Robinson might not be able to take part in the election because the government has issued his court date at the Old Bailey Central Criminal Court for his so-called Leeds crime. Now, we're going to talk about Tommy a little bit later, but you guys do need to understand, those of you that are on the anti-Tommy side, okay, what they're doing to him is wrong. And they're doing it right now because they don't like that he's running.
I know. That's really sick.
And if I don't want to put a prediction out there, but they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that Tommy is in jail and can't run.
Right. Well, let's hope not. We did have the police protecting Tommy against a Muslim gang.
Sorry? What's the matter?
This is Avi is here. So this was Tommy, I believe, in Bolton, and he was trying to give a speech.
So here we have apparently gangs of Muslim men who have arrived to attack Tommy Robinson supporters. I've tried to go over there to talk to them, but we're being blocked here. We're not allowed to go over there and have a chat to them. And I wonder why that is. Is it because they're peaceful? I doubt it.
Go up here looking for trouble, throwing eggs. Who's the right? Who's in the wrong?
Police have had Tommy's back here today, and they've done everything they can.
As you saw, the Tommy rally, campaign rally, was absolutely peaceful, full of people from all different backgrounds, races. Not an issue. Groups of violent men have come to attack. But you know what gives me hope? Flip the camera around. Men who are not going to back down. Men who are going to stand their ground. Men who are going to fight for this country.
So, wow. You know, in another day, in another era, a year ago, 2 years ago,
long ago,
Avi and Tommy weren't considered the Voldemorts, untouchables.
I know.
And that's what bothers me, because you have people on the left who are extremists, who talk horribly about the right, who talk horribly about Donald Trump, who talk horribly about, you know, Nigel Farage and Brexiteers. But then you have people who are, as Tommy Robinson, he's not right-leaning. Yeah. And that's a horrible label to put on him, because we don't know what his politics are, really, when it comes to, when left and right is actually supposed to be on the amount of government you want, the amount of government that you want to control your life.
Exactly.
You can't have...
That's a really concise way of putting it, by the way.
And when it's really supposed to be that simple. Far left is...
communism.
Total government control over everything. Government control. And this shows this in the Communist Manifesto, which is government control of businesses, which you happen to see in Venezuela.
Right.
Where government came and took over manufacturing and took over pretty much every area of your life. Far right is anarchy, where you don't have any government control. Now, outside over here, you do have a right-leaning, conservative morality, and you have left-leaning morality. So, and a lot of times they're flipped. A lot of times you have Muslims who are very far left politically, but very conservative in morality, so much so that it becomes a totalitarian.
Exactly.
Once you begin to use your religion in the government to control people, then you're far left again.
Exactly. It circles back around.
Exactly.
So Worth a Look pulled a question to my attention. He says, a question on your video from the Brexit page. From Anthony, I think, says, tell me why Canada/Switzerland plus others can have a European free trade agreement with no fees, with no political entanglement, and do very well.
And that's absolutely true. You know, it's very interesting because Sweden looked at what happened with Brexit in the UK, and the populace there, I just read, they decided not to go for a Swexit.
A Swiss exit?
No, a Swede exit.
Oh, Swede exit.
Sweden.
Okay.
A Sweden exit.
I missed what you said the first time.
Sweden.
I've got Switzerland on the mind though, because
Switzerland's not in part of it.
I know, but Switzerland was being talked about in Andrew Marr's interview with Nigel Farage, and how well Switzerland does, and his thoughts on Switzerland in the past. So I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
It's a really good question. Why is it that Canada can trade with the European Union?
Right.
How is it that Australia can trade with the European Union?
Exactly.
And why can't
England
trade with the European Union? And that's the
UK.
The UK.
I'm getting
the UK. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so
we get so much trouble for that.
Did I say England?
You did say England.
Fun. Okay.
Michelle, there are millions of people in the wider UK that support Tommy Robinson and Farage because these people are traditionally conservative and right-wing outside of the M25 bubble.
So I think I'm trying to find, where is the... Here it is. Tommy back in court.
2 days from now. On Tuesday.
No. Of course you say Tommy Robinson. And... your own internet kicks you off.
It's like the internet's knees get buckled or something. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah, so Tommy's back in court. So let's say some prayers. Let's hope he doesn't get a judge who doesn't want to see him as an MEP because he'll...
You know what? That's going to happen.
We've been on the campaign trail now. It's been a few days. It's been some good fun. But you've told me now that we've got to take a day off on Tuesday. What's going on?
I'm back in court. Story of my life. Story of my life. So I'm in court. This is for the contempt charge. The same charge that you've watched the video. The charge where I read out publicly held information. We've been to the Old Bailey once. We went before the head judge of the Old Bailey. I gave my defence of what I said was wrong with their case and how I hadn't broken the law. That judge read it and he sent it to the government and said, I'm not sitting this. The government have took 5 months. They've sat there for 5 months and now they've decided to recharge me. And they've changed the charges. So still contempt, but they're saying that I caused anxiety to the Muslim paedophiles who are all in jail now, doing 10, 15 years. I caused them anxiety by asking them a simple question. How they feel about their case, how they feel about the verdict. So yeah, we're in court Tuesday.
And when that happened, it kicked off a worldwide movement, the Free Tommy movement. And there were thousands outside court a number of times at a few rallies, including when you were locked up and when you were finally freed. I remember I was there at that last Free Tommy rally outside the Old Bailey, and we all walked out saying, there's no chance this is coming back to court.
It come back a week after Panadrama. And to be honest, I think it's to tie you up. It's continually over your head. But do you know what they've done? A week before Christmas, the Attorney General, the government, sent us a letter saying we're looking at further charges. So then they didn't charge me again for another few months. So for 5 months, you're never constantly in the clear. You can't... I don't know. So it is a stress hanging over you. And they know that. They know that.
And literally, you are on a campaign trail, which is, it's a 24-hour job. You're having to stop that now to head to court. There's a rally. We need people there.
There's a rally, 1 o'clock outside the Old Bailey. It's been moved back to the Old Bailey. It was at the High Court. I just found out yesterday. They've gone back to the Old Bailey again. I've been in court 6 times for the same offence. 6 times.
Major countries queuing up to do
for talking on my phone.
With us.
Talking on my phone. So yeah, 1 o'clock. If you can make it. Our court case starts at 2. So we'll see what happens.
We're going to have some speakers there, and we're just going to reignite that Free Tommy movement. If you were there before, if you've stood up, if you were part of the movement that actually freed you.
It did get me free. Without that movement, I generally believe this. I believe I've been killed in jail. They moved me to the most Muslim-populated prison in the country. They'd have let them have a shot. And I generally believe that. And if it wasn't for the 30,000 people marching, then realising that, hold on, if he gets killed in prison, something big's going to happen here. Yeah, so... And I haven't got the power I had with social media. You can't even put Free Tommy now online. You can't talk about it. If they put me back in prison, people won't be able to build the movement they built before because no one can talk about it. It just gets censored automatically. Maybe that's why I've been removed. It literally gets censored.
No, that's exactly why you've been removed, Tommy.
I've been victim of that numerous times. So guys, 1 o'clock outside the Old Bailey on Tuesday. Let everybody know. Like you said, you can't actually personally let people know. So it's up to each and every one of you to reignite the Free Tommy movement. Let's see you there at 1 o'clock on Tuesday. Take a day off. Bring your friends.
Take a day off, yeah, or take a half day if you're in London. And I think people power is what freed me. I thought standing outside the Old Bailey last time. When I come walking out there, I see the crowd. It was a beautiful moment for me. One of the best moments I've had in 10 years of activism.
So we need
that again Tuesday. I'm hoping Tuesday we go to court and he gets kicked out.
I think it depends how many people actually rock up to court. I think this is a test of the government to see, does he have the support even without the social media? Yeah. So please, guys, this is what it is. Tuesday, 1 o'clock.
See you Tuesday.
So I hope that you guys, if you are over there and you can make it to that you do, regardless of your feelings about Tommy, what the government is doing here is a stitch up. They are trying to take out somebody that they are scared of politically, who has done nothing wrong or illegal.
When the government uses its power to take out a citizen, to silence them, That is
It's just to silence them. It's
fascism.
not to stop them from doing anything illegal. It's literally just to gag and silence them. They threw him in jail the first time because they were hoping that he would get killed. That didn't happen. So they stripped away his social media powers, and they're going to try to throw him in jail again so that he does get killed.
Remember, the government went to YouTube and had him take his YouTube channel down.
Exactly. This is absolute fascism, just like you said. And thank you for clarifying. I think it was Stuart the Brit and St. Mark the Evangelist that the M25 bubble is a freeway that is around London. I kind of assumed that. I wasn't 100% sure, which is
So
why I didn't say
talking
anything.
about actually, this is what I want to go to next. Now, remember, they want to put Tommy in jail. They're charging him because supposedly he caused anxiety to pedophiles as they were going to be tried. But this Muslim man who threatened to shoot and stab English pigs at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre is spared jail.
Wow.
Ryan Ali, 23, told theater staff he was going to get a gun and kill English scum. Do you know that if Tommy Robbins said I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to kill Muslim scum, he would be in jail for the rest of his life. He'd never see the light of day. He'd be killed in prison. When police arrived to arrest him, he branded an officer as a racist white. Earlier that morning, he had appeared in court for racially abusing hospital staff. A serial racist was given a 12-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. A Muslim thug who threatened to gun down and stab staff and audience members at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre because he, quote, hated the English.
Unbelievable.
But he's going to just, like, hang out in England. Ryan Ali, 23, launched into an explicitive-ridden tirade and told shocked theater employees that he was going to get a gun and kill English pigs and called them scum. Astonishingly, hours before his foul-mouthed rant, Ali had appeared in court for racially abusing two security guards after flying into a rage at a hospital where he accused the security guard of not being a real Muslim.
Unbelievable.
On Wednesday, he admitted racially aggravated offenses, two of causing fear of violence and one of causing alarm or distress to people in the theater. Ali of Staffordshire upon Avon,
Warwickshire,
also pleaded guilty to 3 charges of malicious communication, but he walked free after he was given a 12-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. Judge Anthony Potter ordered him to carry out 80 hours of unpaid work and to take part in a rehabilitation activity for up to 30 days.
I like what Barbaza says. Hey, killing pigs is against the Islamic religion. Haha. He called them pigs.
Sending you to prison would interfere with the care package, which is in place.
Huh?
A care package.
What care package? That's disturbing.
After abusing staff and making threats to rape a man's wife and kill his children, police were called and he was arrested.
Wow. So Bill Burnett on Facebook tells me that the volume when we're playing videos in the background is off. If that is the case for you guys, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what else I can do about it, but I do apologize if that's the case.
He threatened to smash the glass in the fire alarm and threatened one of the guards that he would go to his house and rape his wife and his children.
Oh my gosh. And his children.
Eventually, they took him by the arms and escorted him back to the A&E, where he continued abusing them and spat on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
Officers followed him outside, and when he went as if to grab one of them by the throat, they pulled him to the floor and restrained him. But he is free, and Tommy is going to go to the Old Bailey. And so that is probably one of the craziest stories you're going to hear today.
But, okay, so speaking of Tommy, though, because you know how you like to always bring good news, right? The power of prayer is powerful, hence why it's called the power of prayer. And something happened to us this week where I was afraid of something. We had gotten news in the mail and I hadn't opened it, and I thought for sure it was going to be really, really bad news. And I was praying about it, and I gave it all over to God, and I had total peace. And then when I opened the envelope, it was the complete opposite of what I had feared. So when Tommy says, you know what, I'm kind of hoping to show up and then the case just gets thrown out. Let's put our faith there.
Send positive
that Tommy's
vibes.
going to go into the Old Bailey and they're going to say, all right, we're done with this. It's getting thrown out. It's totally ridiculous and totally absurd. Now, it may sound like a miracle that would happen, but it's actually what should happen.
Yeah.
We're not asking for the opposite. We're not saying Tommy did something really, really bad and we're trying to keep him from, being thrown in jail because of it. We're asking for right to win out, for the justice system to actually be just. It's a very simple process. So hold on to faith and keep praying and pray that Tommy finds Jesus.
Okay, so this is probably one of the craziest you'll see. Another crazy story. I guess there's a BBC radio guy whose name is Danny Baker.
You're going to say that, and I guess everybody's going to be like, you guess. Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, and so he tweeted this out and says, Royal baby leaves hospital, and it was supposed to be a joke of a monkey in a suit.
Oh, yeah, this was kind of unfortunate.
With posh people carrying him around, and that is kind of, basically, it's a circus. He says he's not a racist. He said that it didn't enter his sick mind to even have it be racist. He thought it was funny. And he thought, here we go, parading around a child.
And you know what? This is the Roseanne Barr thing all over again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be completely honest. You know what? Just because a white person doesn't know that other people correlate apes and monkeys with primates with black people, just because we are completely unaware of that because it would never enter into our minds, doesn't make us a racist.
I know.
And it's almost like
it's so
people
funny.
are saying,
You
well,
should
it's
have
racist
been aware.
that you should have known that
You
people
should have
think
been
that.
aware of that.
You are so far removed from what black people go through that it's racist of you just to be so far removed from that. You should know everything in the whole watermelon thing. I don't know anything about this stuff. And I'm sorry that somehow that makes me a racist because I didn't know that black people are equivalent, and they shouldn't be. That's the most vile racist thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's really the real racists who do see, and it's the liberals and the left who see black people as primates.
Yeah.
And so
it's ridiculous.
They're like, but you guys see, they do look like primates, so like you can't do that.
They're
racist.
The rapists. It's so racist.
They're the racists, I mean.
Yeah, and rapists.
Goodness gracious me. A man who's a comedian who all his life has been on the left or centre-left side of politics was probably drunk or probably half asleep, sends out what he thought was a funny joke and it wasn't a funny joke. Yes, everyone has the right after that moment to analyse whether the tweet was a racist tweet or not and whether that indeed makes Danny Baker a racist or not. But for the police to get involved, that takes it to the next level. Because up until this day in the United Kingdom, even denying the Holocaust is legal. And rightly so. If you deny the Holocaust, you're a conspiracist wingnut that doesn't deserve civil society's respect. But you don't belong in prison. This isn't Germany, folks, where that's banned. This is liberal Britain, where you can have the right to be an idiot. You have the right to be a plonker. You have the absolute right to say things that are absolutely stupid. And then for everybody else to roast you for them. You don't go to jail for saying silly things. What sort of country do we want to live in? I mean, it behooves me to say this, having recently been the victim of a racist attack. Violent racism is very different to stupid tweets. And if we try and equate the two and make both criminal offences, then the boy will cry wolf. And we will diminish overall the impact of racism because we will overextend our reach. And then real and true victims of actual violent, severe racism, because actually, let's face it, the most of the country calling for this to be prosecuted or investigated have the luxury and the privilege of not having to have to face violent, armed, violent assault. To understand what the real difference is between those two things, and then from their position of luxury and privilege, want to pontificate about the truly hurtful and harmful things Danny Baker has supposedly put out in one tweet. No! The police can't even prosecute knife crime, and you want them to look into this dude's tweet that he immediately deleted, apologised for, and got sacked over? Give the man a break. Are you going to be satisfied if you find him half dead on the floor because he's tried to slit his wrist in depression? Is that what you want from the man? He's already shown contrition. He's apologised. We're about to hear his apology because I'm going to play it again on this show for you because my colleague James O'Brien interviewed him. What more do you want from the guy? He's lost his job. People should be allowed to make mistakes and pay for them without the mob baying for blood. As if we're reviving the witch hunt era. We're not satisfied until we dunk the man in a river, and if he swims, he's guilty, and if he drowns, he's innocent. Oh, he's dead now, sorry. He wasn't a witch all along, but he's drowned, so we can't do much about it. That's literally what used to happen during the witch hunts. Enough of this already. Whether it's left-wing people like Danny Baker, right-wing people like Scruton. I've been basically defending both from accusations of racism because just stop this already. What kind of country or world even do we want to live in?
I have to stop and just kind of just put this out there. You're allowed to identify your gender that you are not actually born with, and we're supposed to call you a she or a he when you're born as the opposite because that's how you identify as.
Right.
But if you identify as not being a racist, and people literally bang your head against the wall and say, you're racist. No, I'm not. No, I really think everybody's equal. No, you're a racist. No, I think everybody's equal. No, you're a racist. No, it goes over and over and over and over again.
Right.
It's like, seriously, you're a fascist. No, I'm not. No, you are. No, I'm not. Like, did you know that fascists actually identified with fascism?
Leah, I need to tell you something.
Nazis identified with Nazism.
You may not be aware of this or not. I'm assuming that you're not aware of this. But gender is fluid. It's not factual. Okay, you can change your gender. It goes back and forth. But when you're a racist, you just are. That's something that is like written in stone, and it can never change. You can't just choose not to be a racist, because if you have those feelings inside of you that I know that you have, even if you don't know that you have them, then you are a racist, and it's that simple. It's just a fact. You can't just say that you're not a racist, because whether you're born a girl or a boy or whatever, that is subjective. That is to how you feel, okay? But if you are a racist, you can't change that, and it's just a fact. You're just trying to conflate two things that can't be conflated. Okay, you can't compare the two. And that's what. This is a fact. If you are a racist, and I know you're a racist, whether you identify as not being a racist or not, it's two totally different things. We're talking about facts here. Okay.
Here's a fact for you. In Lisbon, Portugal, Spanish authorities say 52 migrants have climbed a guarded fence to gain entry into Spain's North African enclave in Maia from Morocco.
That's our name combined together. You know that, right?
Melilla. An official with the Spanish Interior Ministry in Melilla says 4 police officers and 1 migrant sustained light injuries as the group scaled the high fence around dawn Sunday. The official spoke on condition of being anonymous in line with government rules. Spain's proximity to the North Africa has made it a target for migrants. Spain became the leading entry point for Europe last year with 60,000 migrants arriving, most of them by sea.
It's a massive amount of people.
So 52 storming the border.
Look at them climbing that. Okay, so here's the thing. If you live in some sort of any kind of municipality around the world, I'm going to guess there are laws and rules about how high you can build your fence. Our new neighbors are wanting to build a 6-foot privacy fence, but they're being told that they can't because of where their house is situated. It's absolutely absurd, because the 6-foot privacy fence would literally be lower than the road because their yard dips. Okay, so there are rules about how high you can build a fence, at least around here. That is a high fence. If you're allowed to build a fence that high, it's because you're trying to keep something out. Okay? And they are scaling. Have you ever tried to climb a fence, by the way? Like, it hurts. I would want gloves. And, like, you'd almost have to do it barefoot to get your feet in the, you have to be, whoa.
Yeah.
Yellow vests.
So,
Okay,
I didn't mean to move
done.
on so fastly. Fastly? That's not a word,
You
sorry.
just made that up.
Quickly. This is Yellow Vest this weekend. Some guy was smashed by police. Whoop, just hitting y'all. Whoop.
The volume on this is low, so, but you're not missing anything by it being low.
You know, Macron's got to get a hold of this somehow.
He can't.
I wonder what this policy is. And again, you have the thugs out there along with the peaceful protesters, which make it look awful.
Yep. Well, and we show a lot of the Yellow Vest protests, but I don't know how often we reiterate. These are people from all walks of political life, not just life, but political leanings. I mean,
it started out with the kind of right-leaning people who were upset about migration. They were upset about
taxation,
horrible high taxation, and then you have these young kids. You can see they're young men who are the ones. Look at them. The young men
what I meant was it wasn't just the right-leaning people. There were people from both sides that were coming together because you know what? They're like, listen, we're tired of being, overtaxed. I mean, they live in a socialist country.
I was explaining it was this.
I was talking about the young thugs, but yeah.
And the thugs are leftists, okay?
Right.
Even though we said anarchy, but they don't really want anarchy. They just want extreme socialism through violence. And so what I mean is that the reason the Yellow Vests have not gotten more political coverage is because they are a little bit more, they're anti-migration, which is not a left-leaning policy. They don't want their country being taken over. And if I had to guess, I bet a lot of these are migrants who just want to be out and, perform violence and see the country go down.
So Clive suggests there's something called Magic Actions for YouTube. It works on Chrome, Internet Explorer, and Firefox, and it'll stop the buffering.
Oh. Cool. We'll check it out.
Write that down. Magic Action. So, thank you, Clive.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
"26 weeks.
Worth the Look says Macron was planted in power.
Absolutely.
That's very true. That's why he has no control, because he doesn't know what to do, and those around him that planted him don't know what to do either.
These are people actually pushing back on the police, which I do not recommend.
Adeline says, authoritarian regimes, monarchies, governments always lead to this revolt. It's the same reasons all through history. Well said.
So let me just tell you, when the anarchists come and take over your protests, I do think that it's time to rethink. I would never advocate violence. I never advocate the smoke bombs and the fire. And
right, you're sitting on that court again.
I feel it. And all that crazy stuff going on. So I don't have much to say. I'm sorry. Once you go into this violence, it doesn't feel right. It's not something I can get behind.
Well, but here's the thing. We're talking about France here, and I don't want to judge harshly, but it's just true. You guys have a history of, lacking some sort of a good moral foundation. You have a history of violent revolts, of not handling them through the peaceful processes.
Listen,
and
I think it's just a handful of thugs. I think that there's a bunch of people who it started with, and they took it over. So I don't know. But
even with their peaceful protests, though, it's like they're left with, well, what else can we do? Because when you have so many people, like we met some French people on our trip to Montana, when you have so many French people that are leftist and they've taken over your government and you can't democratically get rid of them, it's very difficult to know what to do after that. So what my commentary on that was, you said you have to, once these anarchists and these violent people take over your protest, you have to rethink. But it's unfortunate for those that would want to step back and rethink. It's like, well, what do we do? What is the answer after that?
Le Pen's your answer. Populist French MP Marine Le Pen has called for President Emmanuel Macron to resign from his post if he is not able to secure a victory for his La République movement in this month's European Parliament elections. The RN, the Rassemblement National leader, has made her comments in response to those of Macron, who said that he would be putting his full energy into ensuring his party's victory later this month. So it becomes a referendum for or against Emmanuel Macron this European election. I accept that But in these conditions, he must do as General de Gaulle. If he loses this election, then he will have to leave, Le Pen said, adding, the President of the Republic is today a party leader and even a campaign manager. He behaves once again as the president of a movement. He puts aside tens of millions of French who have to whom he does not speak anymore. He no longer considers. Macron made his initial comments while on a visit to Romania for a European summit, saying that voters should consider any option except Le Pen's party. The president's comments also come after a shock poll revealed that the RN to be slightly ahead of Macron's party late last month at 24% to Macron's 21%. While Le Pen commands attention as party leader, she is not the leading candidate for the RN. In the European Parliament elections, the party chose 23-year-old Jordan Bardella, dubbed by some as the crown prince of the party, to lead their election effort. 23 years old. Bardella expressed his own vision regarding the European Union earlier this year, saying, "We are going to fight to go to the European Commission to reclaim our 4 levers of sovereignty that are essential to us, our borders, economic and legislative sovereignty, and budget control."
So essentially what you're seeing happen here is kind of something similar to Nigel's Brexit party, where people are at their wits' end to make changes within their country. So they're going to go to the European Parliament to make the changes there.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
So Britt Baza says, Michelle, speaking of prisons, Assange is in Belmarsh prison, southeast London. This is a Cat A high security prison for terrorists and UK's most violent prisoners. It's England's worst prison traditionally.
Right.
And that's where Assange is held.
Yeah,
because what he did is obviously hit 1 year sentence. Right. I'm going to guess no one in that high security prison ever had a 1 year sentence. Right. I'm just going to guess. If you have more than like 5 years, you go there.
Right.
If you have done something worthy of that high of a category prison, you're probably going to be there. Wow.
So if you guys, I have some good news for you. I'm going to switch. If you guys don't watch Dr. Steve Turley, he's on YouTube and on BitChute. Mom watches him. He's always positive with his populist movement. He doesn't come in with a lot of, like we do, all the negative stuff. He always spins it with positivity.
I think we're far more positive than like other channels.
Well, no, I'm just saying that if you want uplifting news, he's always got it going on. But this was really good news because Bolsonaro, right-leaning candidate, became president after a just horrible left-wing leaning government in Brazil, and they had put a homeschooling ban on.
Yeah.
And the new administration of the anti-establishment firebrand Brazilian President Bolsonaro just enshrined new protections for homeschooling in federal law, ensuring equal rights for home-educating families.
Hot dog.
However, a number of concerns have been expressed, including vaccine mandates and a provision that infringes on the rights of parents to home-educate their children if students fail government tests 2 years in a row. The measure, which was launched by the Ministry of Women, Family and Human Rights in conjunction with the Ministry of Education, officially protects the human rights of all Brazilian parents to homeschool.
Wow.
There's actually a huge homeschooling movement in Brazil. They are a very big Christian, and we actually had a lot of Brazilian viewers when we were covering Brazil for a while there. And I didn't know, but they're highly educated. They're almost kind of Western and very Christian, very wholesome people. So let's see. The move follows a radical ruling by the Supreme Court of Brazil last year purporting to outlaw homeschooling in the country unless and until the Brazilian Congress passed laws regulating it. However, the new measures by the Bolsonaro administration effectively nullifies that decision, paving the way for families across Brazil to leave the government's infamously terrible education system. Officials describe the policy as necessary to uphold human rights, which have been understood to include the right of parents to decide what sort of schooling their children ought to receive. We understand that it is the right of parents to decide about the education of their children, said Brazilian Minister of Women, Family, and Human Rights, Damares Alves, one of the lead figures behind the move. It is a question of human rights. So this initiative comes out of this ministry under this understanding. It is a question of human rights, too. But while some homeschooling advocates praise the decision, some analysts and activists are expressing serious concerns too. Brazilian evangelical leader Julio Severo, for example, who has advocated for homeschool freedom for over 2 decades, highlighted a requirement under the measure that forces parents to show proof to authorities that homeschool children have received all their government-mandated vaccines. So obviously that's not something that we want. He says, among other concerns, Severo and other critics worry about parental rights and medical freedom. My model of homeschooling is the American example, where many families have the legal freedom not to vaccinate their children. He explained in his own personal blog, it's in Portuguese, adding that his own children are unvaccinated. If the world's most powerful nation protects this freedom for parents, why can't Brazil? He said that the another concern highlighted by Severo is provision in the new policy that tramples on the rights of homeschoolers who do not pass the government-mandated exams in 2 years in a row. But at least it's a step in the right direction.
Redneck says, that's why I like the idea of homeschooling, along with the fact that they can't be brainwashed.
So this is his Bolsonaro government advances school education measure at home. Not very conservative, he says. So I love that in Brazil there is an American-style evangelicalism that advocates homeschooling your children, and I'm actually pretty excited about that. So Steve Turley has a video on that as well, and so it's actually good news for me, even though I know a lot of people with a lot of laws that you want it to go all the way, but I'm very excited that at least you can homeschool.
Yeah. So
well, you have to take one step
at a time, and that's kind of like with whether it's abortion or whatever. When they, they lower it to, let's say 6 weeks or something like that, or whatever. Okay, well, that's a step in the right direction. Right. Let's go for 5. Let's go for 4. Let's go for 3. Let's go for whatever. Let's go. Let's have this. It's just legal to have the morning after pill. I'm totally against it, but let's get there, right? And so you have to take these steps in the right direction and not poo-poo them just because they're not far enough.
Here's a step in the wrong direction.
Uh-oh.
Danish 17-year-old girl who used pepper spray to fight off a rapist
come on.
near migrant asylum center is told she will be prosecuted for carrying the weapon.
Oh my gosh.
The 17-year-old was targeted by a man as she walked through Sonderburg. She was knocked to the ground by the attacker who tried to undress her. But she used pepper spray on the man to bring the assault to the end. As pepper spray is illegal in Denmark, officials say she will be prosecuted.
Wow.
17 years old, almost raped. She should be hailed as a hero.
But she has to be prosecuted because they have to put down anyone that is trying to use self-defense.
How are you supposed to defend yourself?
You're not. They don't care that women get raped in Denmark. They could not care less.
The coastal town of Sonderburg by an English-speaking man who knocked her to the ground and tried to undress her, but she said she managed to prevent man from attacking her. Here's the thing. He got away. He isn't pressing charges. How does she know? She said she used the pepper spray.
Right. She didn't even have to tell anybody. Right? But how she got the attacker off of her. She was just being honest.
Okay, so here's the thing. She'll likely face a $50 fine, but still.
That doesn't matter.
Local police spokesman Kristen told the TV, it is illegal to possess and use pepper spray. She would likely be charged for that. The man who attacked the girl fled the scene and has not been charged. So isn't that great? The attempted rapist will not be charged. However, the case has sparked controversy in Denmark, where there has been increasing efforts increasing reports of sexual harassment towards women. Earlier this month, several females in Sonderburg reported feeling harassed by the aggressive nature of male refugees at the local asylum center. It comes after it was reported that there have been a rising number of sex attacks by migrant gangs across the number of European countries, including the German city of Cologne. So here's security checking people. And this has prompted several nightclubs in Sonderburg to bar people from entering unless they can speak Danish, German, or English.
Oh my gosh.
The language requirements have reportedly been put in place in several establishments in the wake of reports of foreign men in groups harassing female guests. Buddy Holly, a nightclub in Sonderburg near the German border, popular with local students, applies a language policy for all guests, and the owner defends it as a safety measure. We have some rules so that our guests can have a pleasant experience and feel safe. Racist. Meanwhile, Denmark's parliament has voted in favor of seizing asylum seekers' assets in a controversial bid to reduce the numbers of moving there. I say let people carry guns and knives if you are a Danish citizen who is, and pepper spray.
Here's the deal. I'm going to tell y'all something. If I lived in a country where carrying knives or pepper spray was illegal, I would opt for carrying a knife. And I would definitely whack off a willy of somebody that tried to attack me. I would hurt them first, incapacitate them somehow, and then I would whack off their willy. And if somebody tried to prosecute me or something like that, I would say I don't know anything about it. I would just deny it. I would lie about it. No, I wasn't attacked, and nobody ever tried to rape me. You know, I would have my own justice. That's what I would do. I would have my own justice.
There you go.
I'm just saying.
Take laws into your own hands. And every day I read these things, I think to myself, I am so happy to be in America.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be in America. I can carry pepper spray. I'm encouraged to carry pepper spray. People tell me, the police tell me, carry some pepper spray.
Right. I can go into our local Walmart and pick up pepper spray.
Yeah,
you can, anyway, you can probably get it from a convenience store.
Yes, you can.
With a gas station, that's what.
You can make it at home. Cayenne pepper in a little water bottle.
Yeah.
Say
because I gotta tell y'all something. If you are cutting up peppers, don't rub your eyes. Don't do this. It's that potent. I would just take some jalapenos, soak it in some water, like you said. Maybe some oil, a better carrier, so you can't wash it away. It really sticks in the eyes. If you want, I'm going to teach y'all how to make homemade pepper spray. Go to the store, get some jalapeno peppers, soak it in some water and oil, and just let it sit there.
Maybe an alcohol.
And some alcohol to make it sprayable. Test out your sprayer. You know, make sure you got a good sprayer. But the oil would definitely make it harder for them to wash it away than just water.
All right, so in Denmark, we do have some people who are a little bit more sane. Danish Prime Minister candidate Rasmus Paludan says Muslims must be repatriated.
På dig og din politik gennem de seneste par uger og det at du er blevet opstillingsberettiget. Prøv lige at beskrive, nu vi snakker udlændingepolitik.
Talking about the migration policy, try to explain. I'm going to rewind this here. What are you hoping to achieve? Well, what we want to show is that Denmark as a nation would not disappear if all those who adhere to the religion of peace were to return home after next Friday's prayer. There would actually be a problem with all the money that would suddenly become available to us. And therefore, what I have to say is that what we are talking about here is completely insufficient. The big paradigm shift is that we should work towards returning refugees to their homelands. Refugees need to be returned immediately. Denmark will not be able to pull through if there are a great number of people who arrive here because they want money. And that is what has been happening for 40 years. And that's the worst possible starting point if you want a harmonious society. I haven't finished, you socialists. You cannot just give me 20 seconds. All right, moderator, no. See, it's like this. It's not right that we stand here talking as if this is an insignificant problem. The great replacement is that Muslims in Denmark who do not belong here marry very early in life and produce a lot of children. Danes marry late in life and produce very few children. Everybody's laughing at him. And that means that when Lars Loge talks about 2040 as if that is a time we should reconsider our pension age. I'm going to back this up. Their face is awesome. Then he doesn't at all understand what's going on around him. Look at them. But if this development continues, then we will be nearing a point when the Danish people will become a minority in their own country. And then it won't be fun to be either you or me. This is where we need to say, I'm going to back this up. What we stand for and what we don't stand for. Moderator, well, we'll get to everybody. I just need to understand. You want to forbid Islam and send hundreds of thousands of Muslims out of the country? Do I understand that correctly? That's correct. And there's more.
There's more to it than that.
There are all sorts of talking heads who say that we want to violate the Constitution and all these things, but they are either corrupt legal practitioners or not legal practitioners at all. We comply with the Constitution and we comply with all the rights to liberty that the Danes have, but that the Muslims generally hate, even within this framework. We can easily prohibit Islam. Oh my word, look at the faces. Oh my word.
But can you explain why hundreds of thousands of Muslims in this country This is the moderator asking the question. Where most of them live a peaceful life within a legal framework, why they shouldn't be allowed to be here. You can read the...
I'm going to tell you why. It's because we can see that when Muslims migrate to Western democracies, or generally into a country where the majority is not Muslim, that as long as there is a minority, they act quite peacefully, though we must admit, all in all, that there are a great number who do not. Okay,
the moderator says, we can agree that there are many who do.
But that's not the point. The majority is that, the point is that at the moment At the moment, they are a majority. And then their attitude very clearly changes when they're the majority. Because then they're able to do what they are commanded to do by the Quran. And that can be said. People are just not happy. That guy's laughing. To happen every single time, and it's not like any country.
Don't read behind your hand.
Take Spain, for example. It wasn't particularly enjoyable to be there when the Muslims arrived. There is not a single Western country that is in harmony where they have Muslim immigrants. There are actually only two possibilities. Either you throw out the Muslims, or they take over, and that is what I'm fighting against.
Wow.
Listen, I am not advocating for that here in America, because, listen, that will get you banned off of every single YouTube. And I honestly don't believe that you have to ban all Muslims. I don't believe you have to throw them out. But he was actually getting somewhere, and he actually would go somewhere. And this is what happens with the extremist positions, because you think through, and then your logic stops somewhere. Because when you do look at the extremists of any particular religion or thought process, and then you start to put everybody in that box,
right?
Then you lose your entire argument, okay? Because now everybody's going to toss this guy off, where he was so right when he said, we're not going to bring people over here who are going to be living off of our government.
Exactly.
That is where you're the refugees and living off of, you can say, I'm not taking any more refugees because we still need to take care of the Danish people.
Right.
We take care of Danes first, and that is where you draw the line. But this guy, obviously, I don't know if he's going to be thrown in jail for what he's saying or not, because you can be thrown in jail for saying things like this now.
Yeah.
But not all Muslims adhere to these, the hadiths and the Quran. Now, this is the sticky point. Because Angela Merkel opened up her arms and said, come on in, everybody. And a lot of those people happen to be Muslims.
Yeah.
And it's not harmonious. And he should have stuck with that. It's not, look at the countries in Europe. They're not harmonious. They're not becoming regular Danes.
Yeah.
They're not becoming regular Swedish people. They're not, they have enclaves.
Yeah.
And it's mostly young men. So you have to stick on the points.
Right.
And when you start to attack all Muslims, then you lose your ground. But I'm going to let him finish what he's saying because, because I know after reading the Quran and Hadith about what they do to the infidel. And especially to infidel women. It's not nice. Then it is simply not even a possibility to accept this replacement of peoples. And you have to be able to talk about what's in the Quran. You need to be able to say, coming in, this is what this Quran says. Do you adhere to this? Do you believe this?
Yeah.
And if they say, I believe this part of the Quran, then no, you don't get to come in.
Well, and the funny thing is that they have that taqiyya, which allows them to lie, but at the very least you would weed out some.
Exactly. And frankly, I don't care what all the traders are talking about, because the facts remain. No, but here's the thing. If you have imams that say, this is the infallible word, we must live by every word in this Quran, then no, you don't get to have a mosque.
Right.
Because the part of that Quran, part of the Hadith say, you have to have imams in the country who say, we do not subscribe to these portions of the Quran which say rape the infidels.
Right.
I'm just going to be clear with you on that. And I'm teaching my people to be peaceful here.
Correct.
We need to sit down. You need to talk to them about that.
Right.
That kind of, the British police went to Danny Baker's house and said, hey, are you really a racist? Yeah. Hey, why don't you go to the imam's house, and do you really believe this?
That's a
do
very
you really
good question.
teach this?
And why is it when Majid Nawaz was saying that these people like Danny Baker or something like that, is they're being treated like it's a violent racism that they propose. Even if his tweet was racist and he did mean it that way, you have this very mucky line in water when you say we're going to arrest you because you said this, versus a violent racism that says I would like to have you killed, but it's okay for the religion that shall not be named to say, you know what, I hate the infidels, I think that they should die, but I would never do it, or yes, my Quran says that, or something like that. I'm like, wait a minute. they're protected in this bubble and they are racist. It's not just racist. What is the name when you hate somebody's religion? Is that a xenophobe or
no? There
should be one because they hate anybody that is not their religion, and so it is equivalent to being a racist.
Say they, as in
excuse me, what is written in the Quran?
Exactly. But not all of the Quran. See, and that's why we don't really know the whole basis of the Quran. It's almost like schizophrenic Quran.
It is.
Because you have a half of it that's peaceful in the beginning, and then it changes and there's war, and so you need somebody to sit down and explain it and say, like...
Well, and they need a reformation.
Exactly. You need somebody to explain it and say, like with Judaism.
Yeah.
Okay, they went into certain areas and they killed certain people at certain times and they took over that land, but they didn't say, hey, and go and always kill Babylonians. You know what I mean? Or always fight with the Assyrians.
Right. They're your immortal enemy for all time.
Right. And frankly, I don't care what all these traders are yakking about because the facts remain that this is the only challenge facing our country.
What do you think about the reactions that you will face that there won't be any big cooperation?
Well, I'm in complete agreement with you. But you could say that I am completely honest and that my heart is very democratic. But there are some that aren't, and that is their problem, but this is also a problem for our nation. I, of course, have a wish to cooperate with those who wish to cooperate with us. And there will, of course, be points where we will agree. And there will be things about which we will disagree, where I will be embarrassed on their behalf. Because they are unable to see the damage that they are doing to all Danes. But I also want to emphasize this bit about hate. I haven't said anything about that because I want Muslims to live happy and fulfilling lives in the 51 existing Muslim communities. And if 5 somehow collapse, then there would still be several to choose among. But if Denmark collapses, then we have nowhere to go.
That's really
good. And therefore, it is eminently reasonable that anyone who can't comply with the Danes' way of life, which I love beyond anything, I love all Danes, then they will have to go back to a place where they will be able to live in harmony.
You know, and that's such a reasonable...
I think he had a couple candidates who were kind of smiling like, I would never say it that way, but
you're right. Yeah. I mean, he really hit the nail on the head there at the end. Because...
Why don't we talk about the 51 Muslim communities? Countries. Why don't we talk about that?
Right.
We do. I was trying to talk about it. It was like, seriously, you care about people. If Muslims are creating these great, awesome bastions of freedom, which they're not, then why aren't refugees going to Iran? Why aren't refugees going to Saudi Arabia?
And that's the thing that really hits me.
Why aren't refugees going to
And
Qatar?
they're not talking about that.
Why do the refugees have to go to Europe? Why? Because Europe's Christian, and we open up ourselves to everybody. Do you see Christian refugees? You know where Christian refugees went from Iraq? The one country, Syria, that they tried to destroy and malign.
Right.
And that's why we held the line.
The answer is, though,
for Syria.
I'll just say it's my channel. They're at war. They are at war. They are always going to be at war. All of these nations are always infighting, and they fight amongst themselves. They fight against the rest of the world. And a part of that fight and that belief system is go into westernized nations, have a lot of kids, take over the country. It's happening in the UK. It's happening in Denmark. It's happening here in the United States. They're doing it. They are accomplishing their plan. And how are they doing it, guys? Making babies. So that's what y'all need to do. Today is a fantastic day to do a Resistance Chicks push of making babies for your country. It's Mother's Day. And we want to honor the most, I would say, noble job that a woman can be given by the Lord, and that is to raise up the next generation of human beings. And you want to be a part of that. If you're a mother or you're a father, you definitely need to be a part of that. And if you have 3 kids, you should have 4 or 5 or 6. What is it? What was the country? Did we mention that the other day? We need to talk about that. That's so exciting. I want to move. I'm going to move. Okay, but this is where libertarianism and this policy don't exactly go hand in hand. That being said, I'm still behind it. This is where I'm taking off my libertarian hat and I'm saying whatever. Oh, I'm all for it.
So Hungary wants to promote family supporting schemes, and I think we've covered this. I'm going to go over it again. I will turn you off. Fine, whatever. Hang on. I will allow your ads. Okay. I don't know who that is. All right. Prime Minister Viktor Orban has unveiled measures to boost the birth rate. The nationalist government is anti-immigration and has fallen out with the EU over migrant quotas. Hungary's prime minister has announced a raft of measures aimed at boosting the country's declining birth rate and reducing immigration. Given his annual State of the Nation, this was back in, I believe, in February.
Family Protection Action Plan. I love that name.
Designed to promote marriage and families. Measures announced include waivers on personal income tax for women raising at least 4 children for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
And subsidies. That means that, like, seriously, if you held a job and you've got 4 kids, that you have to realize you're not going to be taxed on any of that.
It's amazing.
Okay. The action plan also extended a loan program to help families with at least 2 children to buy homes. Every woman under 40 will also be eligible for a preferential loan when she first gets married.
Whoa!
The woman gets the loan.
See, this is women's rights.
This is definitely women's rights. This is like feminism, on steroids.
Okay.
This is the real feminism.
Okay.
Women get the loans.
Yeah.
Women don't have to pay the personal income tax. Not the men, the women.
Right.
The government has also said it will spend more on Hungary's healthcare system and will create 21,000 creche places, wherever that is. In addition, grandparents will be eligible to receive a child care fee if they look after young children instead of the parents. There are a few and fewer children in Europe. So this is fantastic.
Hang on, it was like after 4 kids, they pay off your house or something.
They get the loan and they no more. After 4 kids, there's no. I didn't see the house thing in here, but anyway, so going to some other good news, and we're going to end on this story because this is more interesting than good news. To Poland's next door neighbor, Hungary's next door neighbor, Poland, banned from Facebook. A Polish court may help. Poland is literally, it's kind of like a race, and everybody's kind of like, who's going to be in the front of the news for freedom?
Yeah,
Poland's edging its way forward.
I love Poland.
Is suing Facebook for private censorship and a potentially landmark case.
Hot dog.
Facebook, often criticized for not doing enough to police its platform for hate speech. But the opposite has also been the problem. Mark Zuckerberg's company uses rather vague community standards on the basis for decision to remove users and posts. We know this too well. It doesn't feel compelled to explain exactly how it applies them either. Now a Polish court may decide it should. When Facebook banned Alex Jones, Milo, Louis Farrakhan, Laura Loomer, and others last week, all it said was that the process for evaluating potential violators is extensive, and it is what led us to our decision. The prominent right-wingers with huge audiences, obviously they didn't say Farrakhan was not a part of them, but whatever, on the Facebook-owned platforms didn't, in other words, get much in the way of an explanation. Those banned from Facebook and Instagram, not letting anybody else know what would get you possibly banned, by the way. Oh, but talking about Jones on Facebook sharing their posts in the positive.
Right.
Last week, might take a look at Poland, where a local non-governmental organization (NGO) is suing Facebook for removing its page. The Polish nonprofit, called a Civil Society Drug Policy Initiative and known by the Polish abbreviation SYN for short, filed suit against Facebook's European arm in the Warsaw District Court this week. At least in Europe, the case may help set up some more transparent procedures for banning content and its creators from social networks. The group specializes in harm reduction, an approach to fixing drug-related social problems, in part by removing the stigma from drug use and respecting users' rights. It may, controversially, seem soft on drug users, but the approach has been backed by the United Nations. So what they're saying is Facebook's saying, oh, maybe you're promoting drug use, but they actually are promoting rehabilitation.
Exactly.
So they're saying that Facebook shut down its page last year without explanation, telling it why, what did we do? The organization used the social network's appeal procedure, but the ban was upheld. Again, nobody explained it to them. Just like in the case of the U.S. right-wingers who were kicked off. These activists suspect Facebook's human moderators, or perhaps an algorithm, erroneously decided that their page with 16,000 subscribers encouraged drug use. The group is represented pro bono by a prominent Warsaw law firm and aided by another NGO, Pano Pitcotton. I don't know how to say that. Pitcotton, which describes itself as a civil society watchdog over all kinds of regulators. The group mostly wants the page reinstated because it says it is important as a hotline for drug users. The organization is trying to help as well as information channel. Their goals are broader. It's the non-profit group is helping them, and their goals are broader. It's trying to set a precedent and have the practice it describes as private censorship explicitly regulated. Poland is a country with right-wing nationalist government where you have the ruling Law and Justice Party has long grumbled, and I probably should put Poland, in the title, and I would have got my Polish viewers back. They'd love to be in the title. Poland does. Like those in the U.S. who were banned, its members see a liberal bias in the platform policies. In 2017, the country's Digital Affairs Ministry drafted a bill that would make the social networks liable for over-removal of content, but the bill never made it to the parliament, derailed by a ministry reorganization. So this approach, however, is distinct from the right-wing criticism. It's trying to stress the nonpartisan nature of the private censorship issue by backing the drug policy's nonprofit case. So this, their lawyer, Dorota Glauwacka, argues that though social media companies are in principle free to kick people and organizations off their networks on the basis of their terms of service, Facebook, because of its global dominance and huge number of users, doesn't enjoy full discretion in this area. It should, he says, observe human rights standards, and its freedom to withhold access to its private forum should be limited because users have so few viable alternatives. What did we say? 86 cents of every social media ad dollar is on Facebook. So that means there's very few other options to get your
and like we talked about on
there.
Friday, they're buying them up.
Exactly.
Hang on. So I earlier when we were talking about the young woman with the pepper spray and how that was in Denmark, right?
Yeah.
And how these nightclubs were kind of saying, listen, if you're not a Dane, you can't come in.
Well, if you don't speak one of these three languages.
But my thought when I heard that was, because these women need to be able to go to these nightclubs and be safe, my initial thought was, well, then don't go to the nightclub. But that is what I would do personally. I would say, listen, if it's unsafe to go to a nightclub, I don't go to nightclubs anyway, but my point is, if it's unsafe to go someplace, then just don't go there. But that's what I'm hearing from you guys, right? About social media. And the real answer is whether I agree with going to nightclubs or not, or whether I think that she should be going to a nightclub or not, doesn't stop the fact that she has every right to go to a nightclub and be safe. And so whether you guys tell us, well, you don't even need to be on Facebook. It's a tool that people are using, that it's stupid and you shouldn't be on there and yada yada. Who are you to say that? Everybody has a right to do what they feel. And so that's where I'm like, these libertarians are getting a little bit they're getting their wires crossed. You're actually holding the banner up for companies and saying companies have the right. Libertarians say companies have the right instead of saying individuals have the right. And that's the difference. Whether I think you should walk into a nightclub or not as a female or a male or whatever, I think they're ridiculous and no one should ever go to a nightclub. I don't think you should ever have a reason to go to a nightclub. I personally do not. But I believe that every person has the right to go to one safely. Okay? And I'm not going to judge you or say, well, if you got raped, you shouldn't have gone there. You knew better. No, everyone has the right to do these things. And that's where I want you guys as libertarians to go stop fighting for the rights of companies and start fighting for the rights of individuals.
This lawyer's approach, effectively treating the massive social media networks as public utilities, has its advantages. If upheld in the courts, First in Poland and then on the European level, it would force the platforms to leave all lawful speech alone and stop taking down posts, profiles, and pages simply because it feels like it, because the government objects to the content, or because an interest group has put pressure on them with a flagging campaign.
Which happens all the time, and nobody's talking about that. We have these special interest groups that are putting pressure on Facebook.
These lawyers want the platforms to issue reasoned statements explaining why they removed a certain post or account and who was responsible for the decision, a human or an algorithm.
Wow.
Platforms should only remove posts for violating specific rules, not entire accounts, and users should have recourse to courts when they want to appeal the network's decisions, going through the court system. That's going to be amazing.
Well, and once again, though, before you finish, we need to talk about the fact that whether you like it or not, social media has become a real place. And I know it's old-fashioned, and I'm kind of there with you. It's very hard to imagine, but
social media has become a real place.
It has become a real place that you cannot stop somebody from entering into. There are laws. You can't do things online. If you threaten someone's life on the internet, the police are going to come and knock on your door.
Exactly.
Okay? And it should go both ways. If you are kicked out of a place of gathering, whether it is a digital or physical place, you should have recourse in the courts to say, why was I kicked out?
Well, and it basically is the public sidewalk law.
Yeah.
You can't ban people from using your sidewalk even though you put it in. And Facebook has become basically
a sidewalk.
A sidewalk, or even like toll roads.
Yeah.
You can't ban people from using toll roads because of their political views.
Right.
And Facebook has become a road.
Right.
You pay the toll. We pay the toll. They use our information. They take our stuff. We pay the toll.
Oh my gosh, I pay the toll. I pay it in ads when I'm talking about one thing. And then all of a sudden we went to Tractor Supply the other day because I needed welded wire fencing. And the next day, I've never had a Tractor Supply ad come in my Facebook. The next day, Tractor Supply ad in my Facebook.
Because they followed you there.
I'm paying the toll. I'm being spied on. That's my toll. I have every right to be there if you're going to spy on me.
It's users agreements.
Yeah.
It's users that you don't know, but we don't read it. So what about Facebook's holding up its end of the user agreement?
Right.
And they can't just terminate it at any time. All right. So that's the end of our show.
No, it's not the end of our show. Britt Baza says, Michelle, the best weapon a woman has for protecting herself is stiletto heels. One of those stamped on an attacker's foot means he isn't following you when you run. I would disagree.
That's true, but then
most women, I mean,
running in them is not going to be easy.
It's not, convenient to wear stilettos. It's very difficult to wear them. Speaking from females that used to wear high heels all the time and probably haven't worn any in a really, really long time. But before we do sign off here, instead of moving the thing, I'm just
Happy Mother's Day
I want to
Mom.
This is my mother right here, my beautiful madre there. I'm covering up her face with my hand there. Happy Mother's Day to our mom, who is literally the best mom on the planet. I'm sure most of you would qualify as that for your children, but for us, our mom is the best mom.
Not everybody gets a good mom, and that's just the truth.
Yeah.
And we are blessed to have the best mom, and so we try to use that to our.
Not many of you guys realize that everybody says, "Oh, thank you, Patriot Gallery, for raising two amazing girls." I don't think you realize just how far that reaches. What our mom did, the sacrifices that she made for us,
I told her in
and
our
to teaching
card
us
today,
about God, and
it's the love of God.
That's exactly what it is.
When you love people with the love of God, when you love people with selflessness.
Right.
When you love people and you want God's best for them, not what you want for them.
Right. When
you get on your face before God and say, God, what do you want for this person?
I hear a lot
of
moms.
That is the greatest gift you can ever give anyone.
I want to tell you something about our mom today. I hear a lot of moms who are very...
I just want you to be happy.
No. You know, kind of always in their kids' lives, telling them what they should and shouldn't do, giving them advice on life things, and just harping... Our mom has literally never done that. The only thing that she's ever, I don't even like the word harped, but ever given us a hard time about is getting close to God and not arguing. I mean, seriously, that's literally the only thing. She's never said, and she likes us to dress up for the show. That's the most motherly type deal I think that she does. She tells us to wear jewelry and look pretty and stuff. But seriously, our mom she never yelled. She never raised her voice. No, whenever we did something wrong, you just felt it. She never was negative or, we literally were given one of the best. I don't know what we didn't do to anything to deserve it, but so Mom, we love you very much, and you're such a vital part of our lives.
She would like a song because she said other people like songs.
She wants a song. Okay, Mom, do you have a suggestion for a song, or you just want a song? Jay says that I had a stepmother who, and one day she will burn in the lake of fire. I'm sorry about that.
See, not everybody has good moms.
Right.
And so Mother's Day is not always a happy day for everybody.
That's very true.
You know, people grit their teeth and hand out cards they don't want to give to people who don't really care about them or don't really love them very much.
Like Jesse Wilson says, my mom sold me 43 years ago and walked away and never turned back.
I'm sorry.
And that's where the love of, like, if our mom hadn't been there to show us the love of God, we wouldn't have known it. But without a mother, the love of God can take that place.
And so that's why when we want to encourage people, because while motherhood is instinctive, it's not always.
Yeah.
And you have to work at it. And teaching people the love of God and giving people teaching Christianity is when you start to take out Christianity, then you take away the love that a lot of people would have for the people in their lives. And so Patriot Galley and I were talking about guns and how the left wants to control people's lives and take away their guns, but we don't talk about the fact that you can allow people to have guns if you teach them about Jesus.
Yeah.
If you teach them about self-control, then people can have greater freedoms.
Right.
Because they're not going to go and kill people because they believe in right and wrong, and they believe that one day they're going to face God for their actions. And that's what our founding fathers said, was we need to teach people about God, because if people believe in a just system of rewards and punishments, that what you do in secret, God will either punish you for or reward you for.
Right.
That is why you teach and that's why people teach their kids about Santa Claus. Oh, Santa Claus can see it, but God's real. Santa Claus is not, and God really does see what you do in secret, and He will reward you for the good things that you do, and He will punish us for the bad things that we do. Right. And when you teach kids that, you have to bring God back, you have to bring Christianity back to education, religion, and morality being necessary to good government. Schools and means of education shall forever be encouraged. That's in our Northwest Ordinance, talking about what laws should be put down for the Ohio region that was just coming into the nation. And schools and means of education should forever be encouraged. So when you hear people say, oh, you shouldn't have religion in schools, well, actually, our founding fathers knew that that's the only way.
Yeah.
You are not going to have a constitutional republic, democratic republic, without God and people being taught about Jesus. You're just not going to have it. It can't, because, as John Adams says, a whale will sooner go through a net. Meaning the Constitution breaks without a moral people who are governing themselves. Right.
So Kate on Facebook, one of our friends and clients in real life, says that it's very true, but Jesus redeems. His love is amazing. And Patriot Gallery, back to Jesse, says, open your heart to God. God wants you to be the son of someone who needs and deserves a good son. God puts the single person in a family. I've seen this work.
I have too. When you don't have a good family and it doesn't work out, God will put you in a family. God will fix it. God can, and as Kate says, God can fix and redeem everything.
Right.
Kate has actually done this and opened up her own heart and her own life in a incredibly selfless way to give somebody a home who needed a home.
Right.
And that is Christ in action. You have goosebumps.
So I'm trying to find a song for our Mother's Day thing. I just Googled Mother's Day songs, but I'm not coming up with any good ones.
Well, they're probably songs not necessarily hymns that we know.
Well, no, I put hymns in the title, actually.
Yeah, well, I don't remember ever singing a song about mom.
No, I know, but like we're singing just like a good song that would be a good, worship songs for Mother's Day. But the problem is most worship songs are the current songs that are being sung today, and I'm kind of wanting to go back to something more, who on YouTube has a suggestion for songs?
Well, let's see. I guess the only other option.
Mary, did you know?
We can't actually turn the video camera around, can we?
No.
We need to work on that.
Would you want to sing Mary, Did You Know?
No.
Why not? It's a good one.
Nope.
That was Mom's suggestion, by the way.
Oh, well, I don't sing it very well.
So?
I don't sing it at all. I never sing it.
Okay.
I just don't. You can sing it. You sing it all the time.
No, you sing it with me.
You sing it.
No.
I'd love to. We can always play a guitar song.
Oh,
I knew Mom wanted a song, and I thought to myself, it is literally one of the most horrible things at the end of the show when you try to think of a song. Like, I really would like Michelle to come up. We have to take turns. Your turn next time, and I take turns.
How is it my turn next time?
I'm just saying, we need to take turns. If you want to have a song, somebody's got to come up with one.
You've got to be able to sing this with me.
Nope, not going to do it, but I will sit here while you sing it.
No.
Nope.
You have to sing it with me.
I don't sing
You know
this
this song.
You sing.
No, you sing it.
No, you sing.
Haven't I sung it already on the show?
Yep.
Since it's Mom's request, we're going to sing it. You're going to sing it with me.
You're going to sing it.
As soon as I start singing, you're going to sing it.
Nope.
Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you delivered would soon deliver you. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would calm the storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you kiss your little baby, you kissed the face of God. Oh, Mary, did you know? The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the Lamb. Oh, Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect lamb? That sleeping child you're holding is the great I am. Oh, Mary, Mary, did you know? That's a zero practice.
Well done. Well done.
But my Patriot Gallery says Mary was the best and most blessed mother.
Yeah.
I cannot even imagine being the mother of Jesus Christ. So, to all of you mothers out there, you are underappreciated. You are under-noticed. The hard work of being a mom. And I made a post a while ago, and it was really great, but I sum it up as this.
You're a good girl.
When at the end of the day, all you want to do is go to bed, and the dishes still need to be done, and the leftovers need to be put away, and the laundry still needs to be folded, and the kids need to have a bath, and you still do it all, and you put them to bed, and then you go to bed, and then you toss and turn, and you can't sleep because you're worried about this, that, or the other, or how you're going to provide, or what's going on with such and such and so and so, and then you wake up, and you do it all over again. A lot of times in today's day and age, that's what being a mother is about. And you're worried about your kids' salvation and their souls, and are they a good person, and do they represent Christ? Do they represent our family well? Being a mom is a huge deal. And so
thank you to all the moms
Thank you to all of you moms out there. So we love you.
God loves you.
God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory.
If it's the truth.
We want you to like, comment, and subscribe to both of our channels, Resistance Chicks and Mass Faith 3. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, BitChute, Minds. Mom just said there was another one, I think, I don't even remember. Something Tube. I have no idea. But you can find us everywhere. Send us your letters to P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio, 45150. We will read them on air. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Mother's Day. And God bless our mom, and we are very, very blessed to have her.
was cold, all alone. Your place